Howdy, all. Welcome on in. This is Goose Talks Wrestling. I'm your host, Goose. And we are, of course, tackling the biggest show of the year in all forms of wrestling. But honestly, probably one of the biggest WrestleManias ever, if not the biggest. In terms of on paper, obviously, we're not going to know what it's like until after we watch it in terms of how good it is compared to other WrestleManias post-Mania. But, I mean, in terms of on paper and how the show looks before, I mean, I do have to admit, this is probably the one I've been most excited for, at least in 10 years, honestly. I was really excited for last year, but this year's just been built up phenomenally. Like a few of my favourites are getting good spots on the show, so yeah, I'm really excited. You guys let me know by commenting down below if you're watching on YouTube or / listening on YouTube. Well, just on that, this is audio only. I was going to do my usual video as well for YouTube for the podcast, but that unfortunately didn't go in my favour. So, unfortunately, this is audio only, but I appreciate if you're still listening. But yeah, back to WrestleMania. It's just been built up just really, really well. Obviously, you have the Cody and the Rock and the Roman stuff. Still, Seth being involved still kind of, I don't know, not confuses me, but doesn't really make a lot of sense, even though I know Roman and Seth have their history. But it feels though Seth and The Rock are more involved. I'm not quite sure. I mean, this should have been Jay's spot. This would have just made so much more sense. You know, you have Cody and Jay, are former tag team champions. A lot of people forget because of the short reign end of last year. But Jay's been interwoven into this story with Roman and having his own problems and also being involved with like the Cody stuff and losing to KO and Sami at last year's WrestleMania. So I understand that Jay and Jimmy, like it's both their dream match. They wanted to fight each other at WrestleMania, so they're getting their dream moment. I mean, this could have happened in the future. I mean, this could happen at next WrestleMania. Separate on the brand like you have done now and just build it over time for next year's WrestleMania. But, you know, I don't know. I know Jay and Jimmy, like, it's going to be probably one of those matches that's probably going to surprise us, and a lot of people aren't really keen for it. I just think Jay's involvement in the main event tag team match just would have made more sense. But anyway, before I get into the main event matches, I'll obviously preview and predict all the other matches on the card. So we'll start night one and then we'll do night two. So now I don't know, except for the Bloodline pretty much main eventing night one and night two, I don't think these run sheets are in order of the matches that are going to happen. But if they are, they do make sense, just in terms of you always have one of your biggest matches as an opening, and then obviously you have your main event as probably the biggest match, and you have your this day and age, you expect every match to deliver, or it shouldn't be on WrestleMania. Like if they're doing a match and they think, we're not quite sure about this one, like it could be good, could be bad. I mean, don't put it on WrestleMania. It's the biggest show of the year. It's, the expectations for WrestleMania since COVID now are getting higher and higher. Like, I know people that don't really even watch WWE or wrestling in general much anymore, but they watch WrestleMania every year. They have parties, they watch with a group of friends, they all get into it, they love it. So, if you want the casual fan to continue to watch WrestleMania every year, and then hopefully trickle down to other pay-per-views like Royal Rumble and SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, I mean, it's kind of separated from the other three now. It's not as big as it used to be. In my opinion, I think Money in the Bank's probably a bigger pay-per-view than Survivor Series, but that's a discussion for a different podcast. I think these days, I think the bookings are a lot better. We have Triple H now. This is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, this is Triple H's first WrestleMania where he's got pretty much total creative control. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. We can fully rate, because, I mean, Trips has had almost, a full year to build up these storylines, or at least 6 months. And sometimes it's all you need. So, this is going to be a big night, big 2 nights for Triple H, because this is how a lot of people are going to see him and what he's done this last year, being in charge of creative and having not only WrestleMania in his total control, but he's had the build-up in his control for the first time, the entire build-up. So, yeah, it's going to be a big 2 nights for Triple H. In the eyes of the fans, if he's going to deliver or not. I mean, look, like I said on paper, I mean, there's probably not one match where I think I'm going to be bored in. Like, there might be a few matches where I'm like, oh, quick toilet break or, quick snack break. But I might do that during entrances, but I do love watching the entrances. But, yeah, I don't think there's one match where I'm looking going, oh, really? Like, I have to sit through this, even if it's for 5-10 minutes. But most of these matches I'm excited to watch. I think, they're all going to deliver in, obviously, their own different levels of hypeness. But, yeah, I mean, we'll get into the predictions and the previews. So, like I said, not sure if this is 100% in order, but I think this would be a great opening match. I mean, this is main event caliber, but we all understand why the Bloodline stuff is main eventing both nights. I mean, it's the biggest thing in wrestling at the moment. So, any other year, this would be a main event. Is for the Women's World Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. I mean, this has been a match that people have been wanting for a while. I mean, they kind of foreshadowed it a long time ago, so I wasn't really surprised that Becky was the one that won the chamber to get the number one contendership for this. I mean, if you listen to my Elimination Chamber preview and post review, they telegraphed it from a while away that Becky was the one going to win. I did tip Liv Morgan that was completely biased. I wanted her to win, and she had she had the best story. I mean, Becky and Rhea's story is that they've been kept apart and they haven't, fought each other, whilst Rhea's been, probably the biggest women's wrestler in the world. But look, the build-up's been okay. I mean, it got really confusing with the Becky and Nia Jax stuff, and you had Liv Morgan thrown in, where a lot of people, including me, for a short period there, thought it was going to be a fatal four-way, which that wouldn't have made any sense to me, because then the Elimination Chamber just would have been a waste of time. I think you've got to protect that stuff. If this was any other pay-per-view, and it happened on an episode of Raw, on like a payback or something, where it turned into a fatal four-way last minute, like, fair enough. You kind of brush that shit off because, like, okay, it's going to be a wicked match. 4 amazing women wrestlers. Oh, 3 and Nia Jax. No, she's actually been pretty good. I won't talk too much about Nia. She's still the botched queen, but I mean, no, she has been her best form since she's returned. So, yeah, I'm glad that all kind of got ended a couple of weeks ago and they kind of focused on Rita and Becky, but it's kind of just been them cutting promos in each other. And also, the last week or two, they brought in Brew, like Becky and Seth's daughter, and, kind of bring that family twist in. But in terms of storyline, it's not pulling me in. I mean, they've done better than the Rhea and Charlotte build up. I mean, that was terrible. That didn't get me excited for that match at all. This match is going to deliver in terms of in-ring. I've never doubted that from the start since Becky won, or since I assumed Becky was going to be the one to face Rhea. It's going to deliver. I mean, the crowd's going to be hot for this. If this is the opening match of night one, the crowd's going to be fucking amped up. That's why it's really important to make sure that if you're having this opening match, then the next match is got to fire on all cylinders, and we'll get to, I think it will. Like I said, if this run sheet is correct, which to me looks like it is, just because it has built up, it makes sense, but we'll wait and see. They can do last minute changes like they did last year. They chucked a few things around. But look, I am in the boat that Rhea's going to win. Just because I think she's the hottest thing in wrestling. But her reign hasn't been great in terms of her matches. I mean, they've kind of just thrown her people that won a match the week earlier to build up for a match against Rhea, and it just hasn't really fully delivered. She's had some good ones, don't get me wrong. And the people that she's fighting have all been like really good wrestlers, but just the build-up hasn't been there in terms of their character or just the storyline. And I think the biggest question coming out of this is, okay, if Rhea does win, then what do you do with Becky? But then the same question could be said with Rhea. If Rhea loses, what happens there? She'll obviously get a rematch with Becky at Payback. It's a really tough question because you always look at these event cards and think it's kind of easy to predict if you kind of ask the question of, okay, what next? What next for each of these wrestlers? Are they going to just continue a feud? I mean, this is their first match of their new feud, so this could last a few pay-per-views, like, in all honesty. Which, I mean, it could. Becky could win, and then Rhea could get a rematch, and, that's a possibility too. Becky could win, and then Rhea wins it back in a month. They haven't done a booking like that in a long time, and that could be a breath of fresh air. I mean, none of these titles have been hot potato. So, I think that would be interesting. I think that could tell a really good story of Rhea maybe just loses to Becky, and then a month later, Rhea just wins against Becky. And it doesn't have to be back and forth for the title, but maybe, Becky wins, Rhea beats her in the rematch, and then Becky wants a rematch, and then Rhea beats her again, and that could be the end of that feud. I mean, I don't know. I think Rhea's hotter than Becky currently, and everyone loves Becky. She's always going to be over, but I mean, Rhea is not only the most over and biggest women's wrestler in the world. I mean, she's one of the most over wrestlers in fucking general. So, and WWE does go through phases where they don't like their champions to lose at WrestleMania. I mean, we had it with, Shinsuke and Asuka both lost in the same night, and they're both the Royal Rumble winners back in, I think it was 2018. So, they haven't really been doing that a lot the last few WrestleManias, but it would nice to see Rhea win. So that's my prediction for that one. I think this is going to be an A-grade match. I can't wait to watch it and then review it. The next one, as I was saying, if you're having that as an opening match, you need to have a really big match next up. Keep the crowd hot. They're not going to have, a big adrenaline dump and then they can't get back up from there. It's Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. We've now seen Chad Gable thrown in. Now, I don't know if that was a last-minute swerve because they thought, oh, fuck, we've messed up. The fans actually wanted Chad versus Gunther, not Sami. And, they're probably surprised, in all honesty, because how over Sami has been and what he was in this position, last year when people wanted him to beat Roman at Elimination Chamber in Canada for the world title. Well, sorry, for the WWE Universal title. But the thing is, Sami's not as hot as what he was. I mean, he was probably the best part of the hottest storyline in wrestling. One of the hottest storylines in fucking wrestling history. So, I think WWE kind of miscalculated that Sami hasn't really done a lot. I mean, he's now, ever since the Bloodline stuff, he's always going to be over now. He's gone to that point where he's always going to be super popular and over unless he gets completely fucking buried. But he's gotten to that point now. He's had big pay-per-view matches. He main-evented WrestleMania. He main-evented Elimination Chamber in my favourite match of the year and my favourite pay-per-view of the year, Elimination Chamber of 2023. So, yeah, he's always going to be over, but the thing is, he's not as over as what he was. There's always different levels of being over. Like Becky's over, but she's not as over as Rhea currently. So, yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see Chad get this and then get his WrestleMania moment. He's been such a hard worker, and he, in my opinion, in ring, he's the best wrestler in WWE. Yeah, he's not the best on promos. Yeah, his character work isn't the best, but sometimes you need to reward the great wrestlers, and their characters and their stories will come from there. I mean, have a look at Kurt Angle and what he did with his character building and his promos and stuff. I mean, and I know it's kind of a cliche comparing Chad Gable to Kurt, but there's a lot to compare. Chad could be a main event guy if they give him a mid-card title that feels like a fucking world title and see how it goes with it. Book him properly, don't shaft him, and see how it goes. This could have been a really big step up for Chad, and I hope we get it in the future. But anyway, I'll stop complaining about it. I don't want to be one of those Chad crybabies, but yeah, we got Gunther versus Sami, where I think this is going to be a really good match. I don't think it's going to be relatively a long match, whereas Ripley versus Lynch, I think, will go 20 minutes, a bit like Charlotte and Rhea did. Gunther versus Sami, I think, will float between that 10-15 minute mark, which I think is great. I don't think any match on WrestleMania should go less than 10. Like of these matches, I don't think they'll do any match any service being any less than 10. But you don't want them too long either. So I think 10 to 15 would be perfect for Sami and Gunther. Maybe build up the crowd for 30 seconds to a minute and then just be hot from there. All these matches don't have to have that big, long build-up, like all Roman's matches and stuff do. Some matches benefit from being fucking gung-ho 99% of the time. And I think Gunther vs. Sami Zayn will really benefit from that. Keep the crowd hot from the previous match. They're hot for Sami. They love Gunther. They're going to be really into this story. Now Chad thrown into the mix as Sami's trainer. They'll do the full Rocky story. And if Sylvester Stallone is involved, because it's in Philly, obviously where Rocky's based, if the rumours are true that Sly is going to be involved, then the crowd's going to be hot for Sly. Everyone loves Sly, especially Philadelphia, because of what he did for the city with the Rocky movies. So, yeah, yeah, I honestly think Gunther retains. But then I question, what I said before about, okay, what from here then? They built Sammy up as this kind of underdog like he has been his whole career. He lost to Bronson Reed, and then he didn't get to finish his match against Bronson Reed because Gunther interfered and beat him up after he beat up Chad Gable. So, and then for him to lose at WrestleMania might be a big, big problem for WWE and Sammy. And, I was speaking about always being over and blah, 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 blah. That probably, it won't be a burial, but it would really hurt Sammy a lot. And I'm more intrigued now with the route they've taken is Sammy wins and then we get to see Chad versus Sammy in like a little respectful feud. And all feuds don't have to be bad blood. It is a breath of fresh air. It's really good to see. And AEW has been doing it lately too, is these competitive but good-spirited feuds. We've had some great ones over the years, and, handshake after the match. Two great wrestlers. You have Sammy, who's very, very good character, and he's very good at getting the crowd involved. And you have Chad, who's just the mat master. But, yeah, I think this match will be great. I think this will be a good storytelling match. As I was speaking earlier with Ripley versus Lynch, that's going to be more a wrestling match, right? That's going to deliver on the wrestling match front. This is going to deliver on the wrestling match, but also probably more so the character side of Sammy getting over Gunther. Is Gunther Mr. T? Is he Apollo Creed? Is he Ivan Drago? If it's Apollo Creed, then that means he wins. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Sammy has already lost to Gunther in the past. Last year, but I could be wrong. If that's the case, then it could be Apollo Creed because he beats him the second time round. If it's Mr. T, then he loses the first time and beats him the second time. If it's Drago, then that means Chad Gable dies. Because that would mean that someone would have to be Apollo Creed, and that means that Gunther would have to kill someone and then Sammy gets revenge. But anyway, gone way to movie mode. If you like movies, Goose Talks Film. Cheap little plug. That's my movie podcast, by the way. But yeah, no, I just think WWE is still hot on Gunther and he wins here, but it will make sense if Sammy wins because then we get to have Sammy versus Chad. Gunther takes some time off, and then he's in the world title picture for Bash in Berlin. So yeah. Now we're on to which I'm really excited for. I love just a big fucking fuck fest of like ladders and bloody tables and hardcore shit. So we got the 6-pack tag team ladder match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship, which features the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, DIY, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa versus Awesome Truth, The Miz and R-Truth, The New Day, Kofi and Xavier versus A-Town Down Under, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller versus New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Now, Michael Cole did drop a bomb on Raw that the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships will be separate. So, if a person grabs, the Raw belts, then they're now the new Raw champions. But the SmackDown titles are up for grabs. So, the belts are being split because if they're not, if a team wins both titles, that's just the stupidest thing ever because why ever do it? So, that tells us that they are getting split. The Raw tag titles will be Raw and SmackDown will be SmackDown. So, little light spoiler here, but there's only 2 SmackDown teams in this, and it's A-Town, Down Under, and New Catch Republic. So, it's not going to be A-Town, Down Under, because they're going to break up soon. Austin's going to probably turn babyface, and Grayson's going to be the heel. So, New Catch Republic wins SmackDown unless a Raw team wins and then they transfer to SmackDown. Makes sense. Because you got 4 Raw and 2 SmackDown. And we all hope the Miz and R-Truth are going to be Raw Tag Team Champions. And probably continue like a little feud with Judgment Day if Judgment Day don't disband, which I think is in the horizon very soon. So, yeah, you have Miz and R-Truth win Raw, and then you most likely have New Catch Republic win SmackDown. Because, New Day, they don't need to win. They're kind of just in this, because they're still popular and although they're getting older, they still perform in these types of matches, so why not? You have DIY, an upcoming team that WWE has really worked hard to try and get over and give them time to organically develop being outside of NXT. And they've done a good job. They've had some great matches. They've had tag team title opportunities in the past. They deliver every match. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe took the SmackDown belts and they went to SmackDown. That's kind of what I see happening. I don't see Judgment Day winning the belts going to SmackDown. I don't see New Day. That doesn't really make any sense. So it's either going to be New Catch Republic win SmackDown, or it could be DIY win SmackDown and then they move. But I think it's more likely New Catch Republic at SmackDown champs and Awesome Truth Raw. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot really talked about. I think this is going to be a really, really good match. I mean, surprisingly, a lot of these guys aren't your typical ladder match throw-ins, like, like your Ricochets or your John Morrison's like he used to be. And Truth when he was younger, I mean, he can still go, don't get me wrong. But in terms of taking big spots, the Miz and Truth aren't going to take massive spots. It's probably going to be, down to Gargano, Ciampa, Balor, Theory, Waller probably, and actually probably New Catch Republic in terms of taking bumps. There's not going to be a lot of high-flying stuff, but there's going to be some great ladder spots because all these dudes can deliver. They can all wrestle. They're all great. So I think this match is going to be really good. It's going to be really fun. It's great to have one of these matches on the card because I haven't really had one of these, random fuckfest, different stipulation type matches on WrestleMania for ages. So really fun. Now on to Jay versus Jimmy. Look, there's not really a lot to talk about. I'm going to watch it because I think Jay's great. He's one of my favourite Raw wrestlers at the moment. Jimmy, he's doing a good job. In my opinion, his heel character doesn't really make any sense, but we won't delve into that too much. But look, this is going to be a very, very big story match. So it's going to take a while for the action to get into this. I could see this going 15 to 20. 5 of those minutes being them build up, them maybe slapping each other, talking shit to each other. Jimmy not wanting to fight or something like that. That's going to happen, almost guaranteed. I think Jay is so over, he has to win this. He's had quite a few losses leading up to this to build up. He lost to Gunther when he almost won, and obviously Jimmy interfered so he could set up the match for WrestleMania. So, look, Jimmy eats loss after loss, so it's really not going to affect him too much if he loses again, because that's kind of him and Solo's job, is that Roman can't lose, so they have to. So I see Jay winning. I think this is great. If he wins this, hopefully he can be thrown into a title picture in the future. I think he's going to be, depending on what happens with Sammy with the title and whatnot, Jay's a good shout for the Money in the Bank briefcase. I think at this time, so it happens in July, there's 3 guys that are jumping out to me, and it's Sammy, Jay, and LA Knight, and possibly Chad. All depends on what they do with him in the Intercontinental title. I mean, that's a lot, depending on a lot right there. Yeah, those are the 3 to jump out to me. So Jay kind of has to win this, a bit like LA Knight has to beat AJ. And yeah, I think Jay wins this. I think it's going to be, a decent match. I'm excited to see Jay's entrance with the crowd and all that type of stuff. So yeah, we're on to a match I'm excited for just because it's so random but exciting for different reasons. We have Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi versus Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. So, like I said, I'm excited for multiple facets of this. Seeing Dakota Kai back in the ring after, almost 10, 12 months, and hopefully she'll be able to do a lot more. They've obviously been not risking her leading up to this. She's had a bit of action. She went scratch-free in her recent match on Raw, so I think she's good to go. I'm excited to see Jade in a proper match, even though it's a 6-person tag match. I think she's going to get some great spots in this. I think her and Bianca are going to have, quite a few tag team combos with each other. And I think everyone in this is going to perform. Kairi's going to do some high-flying stuff. Asuka's going to just be a great worker like she always is. Dakota's going to, be like the real character of this. She's going to talk shit. She's going to be dirty as shit. I hope Dakota has a really big 2024 because I think she really deserves it. And I, really, really do like her. And I think that she's hopefully going to get a big 2024. But yeah, I don't see Jade losing. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And damage control is pretty much going to fall apart at WrestleMania. They lose this. EO loses against Bayley. There's, going to be problems. I think they've lost, too much. Obviously, building up to story with Bayley and stuff. I do understand that. But I really don't see Jade losing. I mean, who do you pin if Jade's team does lose? I mean, Jade can't eat the fucking pin. Bianca would be very, very surprised if she eats a pin. Very surprised if she eats a pin. She's booked like 07 John Cena. Then you have Naomi. I mean, she'd be the one to be pinned, but does she deserve it? Fuck no. She hasn't been treated like shit or buried since her return, but since her performance in Royal Rumble where they really pumped her up and she had an hour performance, Iron Woman performance, but she hasn't really done a lot since then, I think it'd be very wrong to have her eat a pin. So that's why I see them winning, mainly for those factors alone. But I think it's going to be a really fun match. I think I'd see it lasting around 10 minutes. No point it going any longer than 13. Good spots, high energy. Awesome match on paper, so hopefully it delivers. And we're on to probably the match I'm least excited for over the whole 2 nights, only for the fact that it's kind of disappointing with what they ended up with. We have Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar and Dirty Dom. I thought we were leading to like a multi-person tag match. Even like an elimination tag match would have been really cool. We don't see a lot of them anymore, seeing as the concept of Survivor Series has changed. But yeah, I'm really surprised we landed on just a normal tag team match and Carlito isn't involved. God, they've done him dirty. They took him months to reintroduce him since his return in Puerto Rico for Payback, and he hasn't really done a lot since then. And I mean, he's over, and he could be more over, but he's over because everyone loves him. He's a wrestler that was brought back, after 10 or more years. He should have been in this match. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited that Dragon Lee's getting a big WrestleMania match because I think he's been misbooked since his main roster call up as well. And I think he's got a lot of fucking talent. I mean, he's a future top mid-carder. Don't quite think he's got what it takes to be a main event star, but hey, I'm happy to be proven wrong. Santos, I love him as a heel. Babyface, not so much. I'm so glad he's back being a heel. He's got Legado del Fantasma with Humberto and Angel. I'm disappointed we're not going to see them. Well, obviously we will see them because there's going to be some fucking shenanigans. There always is. LWO and Legado del Fantasma are going to be involved, no doubt in my mind. But yeah, look, I think it's going to be a good match. There's going to be some bullshit with Ray and Dirty Dom. I actually see Santos and Dirty Dom winning this. I just think it just makes more sense. I mean, Ray got his win after his Hall of Fame induction last year. I think it'd be good for Dom to get a win. And Santos get a win as well. It won't hurt Dragon. Maybe you have Dirty Dom pin Ray would probably be the best outcome. Or Santos pins him. Either two. Makes sense either way, really. Just makes more sense that Dragon isn't the one pinned. But yeah, it is what it is, that one. And we're on to the main event of night 1. We have the Bloodline, The Rock and Roman Reigns, final boss and the Tribal Chief versus Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. Now, as I said from the top, don't understand Seth's involvement in this other than he's a main event star, so yeah, whatever. Look, I don't think this match is going to be amazing in terms of in-ring. I think the crowd's going to be hot as shit for this. And it's going to be, like I said earlier, one of those story matches, and I think it's going to be really, really good. I think the crowd, yeah, is going to be super, super hot. Even though they're tired and exhausted by this point, they're going to be fucking going crazy bananas for this match. I mean, there's only one outcome for this, right? And that's the Rock and Roman win. Because why would you bring up the whole idea of Bloodline rules and then tease it and then not have it? So, to me, that's been telegraphed that the Rock and Roman win. If shenanigans and shit are involved, most likely it is fucking Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Seth eats the pin here. Something is going to happen with him and Drew. We saw it Raw last week. Drew and Paul Heyman were talking in the background, so something's going to happen. Something's going to happen before Seth and Drew's match, but Seth has to be the one to eat the pin. It can't be Cody. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really good match. I'm excited to see what The Rock's like. I think this is going to be great to kind of protect him in terms of this is his first match in a long, long time. Like a long time. He's a proper match. So I think this is great to kind of protect him and like a bit of smoke and mirrors. But yeah, I mean, the Bloodline has to win this, right? I mean, it's silly if not. So we've got 7 matches. I think that's pretty much finalised. Now we're on to night 2, which is 6 matches. Again, pretty sure it's been finalised because night 2 is obviously going to have way longer matches and entrances. So the opening match, like I said, opened with a big match with the World Heavyweight title between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. I mean, to me, it has to be Drew. What he's done since he properly turned heel in January, he has to be rewarded with a win in front of crowds, if he's a heel or not. The fans are going to cheer him because he deserves a big title win in front of fans. He really, really does. And I love his character of being a massive hypocrite. He's a big piece of shit. Love it. He can have awesome feuds with a lot of people, and specifically CM Punk is involved with this. He's going to be on commentary. He's going to be involved in some way, shape, or form to set up him and Drew. Now, what I would like to happen is Drew wins, Seth goes away for a holiday for a bit, recovers, whatever he has to do. Then at Payback, we get Punk versus Drew. Drew wins by dirty or by disqualification or attacks Punk's arm if he returns. He's due to return a couple of weeks after WrestleMania, so wait and see what the timeline's like. And then the next pay-per-view, have a triple threat. Give people what they want. That fucking people want Rollins, Punk, and Drew. And if that means Drew dropping it in the triple threat so people then get the next pay-per-view Seth versus Punk, which was meant to be the WrestleMania match, then so be it. I think, I'm not always massive on short reigns, but if Drew has a 60-day reign, I think that's going to be good. Then he can win it again down the line. I think we're in a really awesome position here with both titles on both shows where there's between 4, 5 to 8 people that could be champions and it makes sense on each show. So, yeah, I think if we have a few title changes throughout the year for both titles, it's going to benefit everyone and benefit the title and benefit the show. Because if you just have the same people winning for long periods of time, it gets boring. Because, they're not going to lose. But, yeah, look, I think this is going to be an awesome match. I think Seth's going to be banged up. I think Drew's going to take advantage of it. Seth is kind of also booked like 07, 08 Cena, so he's going to look like an absolute beast, but Drew's going to still win. I think Punk's going to be decent on commentary. He talks well. I think it's going to be a good match. Then we have Io Sky versus Bayley, which I think's been unfairly underdone and pushed aside. I feel so sorry for Bayley. She got a moment win the Royal Rumble. Everyone's like, yes, finally, she, after being not at the bottom, she's been in the main event scene for the women's, but she's been losing and being the butt of all these jokes and not being as big as Charlotte, not being as big as Becky, not being as big as Rhea. Got a moment, and she's literally been pushed to the side. Barely on any fucking promotional stuff for WrestleMania. Wasn't the press conference? Well, I mean, she was, but she wasn't the poster for the press conference. Bianca Belair's been on posters and shit more. I understand Bianca's a draw, big star, but so is Bayley. And Bayley's the one battling for the WWE Women's Championship. So, yeah. I think it's going to be a great match. I mean, this will be in-ring phenomenal, and it's going to be phenomenal in terms of storytelling. Has had a shit build-up by WWE's booking, not by EO, Damage Control, or Bayley, or anything like that. But Bayley obviously has to win here. Continue a little mini feud down the future with Damage Control and EO and stuff. Eo's had a good run. She won when everyone wanted her to win. I mean, she said, can't be more pleased with EO's run. But yeah, I think this is going to deliver in every sense. I mean, it's going to be 15, 20 minutes would be my guess for this one. Might be some shenanigans involved. We might get Damage Control, cause distraction, and then, Jade and Bianca and Naomi come out and help. Not sure, but Bayley wins this 100%, has to win. But yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome match. I mean, it might steal the show, it might steal the night. There's a possibility for sure. Now we have, one of my personal favourites I'm excited for, just because I'm so glad these two are getting a big feud. I mean, technically it's a main event feud because both of these guys have been in the main event picture since the start of the year and end of last year. It's LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Yeah, I mean, they're both main event guys. They both recently battled for the title against Roman. So this should be treated like a main event. I mean, I'm hoping LA wins, and then, 2024 has to be the year for LA Knight to win a big title or do something big, because if it doesn't happen this year, it's not going to happen. And that's the good thing about if Cody Rhodes wins against Roman, then all these things open up because Roman's not going to hold the title hostage. Yeah, Cody might probably be booked like John Cena was, have a 120-day reign, lose it for 30 days, win it back, have another 100-day reign, lose it for 50, win it back. That's fine. I'm okay with that. If it gives opportunities to other people to be the challenger and hold the belt, get some main event experience, I am all for it. I'm fine with that. I'm not all for these 2, 3 year, 4 year reigns. I'm just not. It's boring. I'm over it now. When Roman loses, he fucking better lose. That shit just has to end. I'm over it now. Over it. But anyway, LA Knight versus AJ. Look, they've done a pretty decent job building up last couple of weeks. I mean, it's gotten better every week with the home invasion angle. Then you have AJ calling out LA Knight in his dress as a security guard. He acted it really well because he used to be a security guard. Yeah, I think they built up as best they can. They're kind of not grasping at straws, but the storyline is that LA Knight took AJ's spot, which is probably the truth. AJ did get injured and LA kind of got pushed into the main event scene with John Cena versus Bloodline and then got his title shot at Saudi. But I think LA Knight was getting that Saudi spot anyway. The crowd fucking loved him. He was so over in Saudi. So, yeah, I think the storyline, look, it makes sense. AJ was annoyed that LA took his spot. I mean, it's realistic. It's not the first time it's happened in wrestling, and it won't be the last. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a good match. It's going to probably be 12 minutes, would be my guess. Look, LA is one of my favourites currently. He's not the best in-ring person ever, but he doesn't have to be. He's so over, and he can work the crowd like not many in WWE at the moment. I mean, he can work it better than Sammy, and that's saying a lot. That's not shitting on Sammy because he does it phenomenally as well. But the crowd just loves LA. He gets him involved, builds him up. AJ's playing a great heel/anti-hero, tweener, whatever you want to call him. And he can carry anyone. I mean, he can carry a bag of dog shit to a great match. So imagine what him and LA Knight can do in a match. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be some awesome spots. It's going to be great storytelling. It's going to be a great wrestling match. There's a possibility it could be my favourite night of the match. If the weekend, if LA wins, then it's a great match. So, really excited. Triple threat match. Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. I mean, this is going to deliver, right? I mean, it kind of has to. The expectations are really high. KO and Randy are both main event talent. They have been both. Well, I mean, Randy's been main event talent since 20 years ago, and KO has been main event since a little bit before COVID, and then probably more so after COVID. But yeah, look, I think this is going to be an awesome match. Logan, whatever you say about him as a person, as a YouTuber, as an entertainer, everyone's got their opinions, but you can't deny he's great in ring. For someone that wasn't trained as a professional wrestler, he did some amateur college wrestling and stuff, and high school wrestling, I should say. But he just delivers in every match. I mean, there hasn't been a shit Logan Paul match, so you got to give him credit. Him and KO have great chemistry. I'm glad they are building from that feud from Royal Rumble, because the way that was booked and the way it ended was just fucking great. Whoever was the producer of that, and I think I did find out, but I can't remember who, you need a fucking raise. I'm telling you, you need a fucking raise, because that was great. Then you have Randy. The way they brought Randy into the feud, it wasn't original, but it works enough because Randy's just Randy, so it doesn't matter how you book him in a match. It's Randy, so we're going to watch and we're going to fucking love it because it's Randy and it's KO. I fucking love KO. He's got that awesome energy. They're all different types of characters. They're all different types of in-ring wrestlers. Triple threats are great. I love, this will probably rival, in my opinion, in terms of in-ring, was match of the year last year, was the triple threat Intercontinental Championship between Sheamus, Drew, and Gunther. This could rival that. Because all these three guys can fucking go. That was like a big, not a meat fest, because they're not all big dudes, but that was just a clobber fest. Like, they all work stiff, they hit each other, all big dudes hitting hard. These are three dudes that are very different, but they're all great athletically. I mean, KO's just phenomenal for his build. I mean, it's just great. Who do I see winning this? Honestly, you can make an argument for any three of these dudes winning. Like, you really can make any excuse or any reasoning for one of these three dudes to win. It's the hardest match to predict the entire weekend because you can understand Logan winning, gets his WrestleMania win. He hasn't had a WrestleMania win, I don't think. So he hasn't had a lot of big pay-per-view wins. So you can see him winning that, carrying on the title. He's going to be around more with his new contract. He's retired from boxing. He's focusing on wrestling, which is great. It's great to not have part-time fucking champions anymore, so I'm happy with that. Hopefully, after Roman loses. Yeah, look. KO winning makes sense because you can continue the feud with Logan that KO beat him clean in the triple threat, or if he might pin Randy and Logan's like, well, you never pinned me, and that continues the feud. Randy could win and they continue to feud with Logan because it's brand new. They haven't had a feud yet, so it's hard to predict. It really is. I see KO winning, getting a WrestleMania moment. He's always, he's had his moment last year, I know, in the tag team main event, but I wouldn't be surprised after all his involvement in the bloodline, all his hard work as well, and kind of dwindling a bit for a few months before the Logan feud. They're kind of rewarding him, and Randy's at this point where he doesn't need massive wins at WrestleMania. It doesn't matter if he gets pinned either. He's an enigma. He's a bit like Cena. It's not going to fuck their credibility if they lose. They're always going to be over. They're always going to be seen as world champion material. So Randy's probably the least likely to win, but still, you can make a case for him to win. But my prediction is KO wins, but it's fucking impossible to predict. And I think it's going to be a sleeper for match of the weekend for sure. Then we have The Pride, Bobby Lashley, Angelo Dawkins, and Montez Ford with B-Fab versus The Final Testament, Karrion Kross, Akam, Reza with Scarlett and Paul Ellering for the six-man Philadelphia Street Fight. Now, originally, when they announced, because this was announced either on social media or at the end of Raw or something, because it wasn't on SmackDown, I thought it was going to be an 8-person Philadelphia Street Fight because B-Fab and Scarlett were both like forefront with the other three on each team on the poster. So I thought, oh, cool, B-Fab and Scarlett are going to get some moments to shine, have some spots. Look, they probably will. It's a street fight. They're probably going to get involved anyway. By the way, they have Paul Ellering in the Final Testament. That motherfucker hasn't spoken once. One of the best managers of all time hasn't said fuck all. Like, what are they doing? I get they're getting Karrion to be the one to kind of cut the promises. He's kind of the leader. But Paul, I mean, that's what they brought Paul in for, the Authors of Pain, when they were on NXT. Was because they're not great on the mic and in promos, but Paul is. And Paul can sell anything. So, I don't know. That's a different discussion, but I just reading all the names kind of just jogged my memory that why is Paul there if they're not going to use him? Fucking use him. I'm not saying he's a unicorn or anything, but fuck, you don't get many people like Paul around. Get him on the mic, WE. Fuck. Anyway, I'm excited for this because, as a lot of people close to me know, and maybe a few listeners know, because I spoke about it at Elimination Chamber, Lashley not only is my favourite current wrestler, but he's my favourite wrestler of all time. That might be a big call, but I haven't just watched him in WWE. Also a bit biased. I watched him in Bellator MMA, but I also watched him in TNA/Impact, which really molded him to be the top level wrestler that he is. Yeah, I mean, this is really hard to predict because it's kind of like the Pride is still trying to find their footing as a stable that WWE believes in. They're going to push them, highly. They haven't gained a lot of traction, but they are over because Street Profits are very well liked, and Bobby's just over all the time. Crowd chants for Bobby, even if he does have a shit match or what, crowd still loves him. So they're always going to be relatively over. But, yeah, they're not quite hitting on all cylinders yet. And then you have the Final Testament, where they kind of really need this win to be legitimised and to be taken seriously. They brought the Authors of Pain back. They haven't really done a lot. They haven't had any big wins that really mean anything, other than building up to this feud. So I do see the Final Testament winning, but I will not be surprised if the Pride wins because WWE might have a bit more faith in the Pride getting over. They might look at it and be like, look, We get the final Testament to win at WrestleMania, and it might be like an Austin Theory or a Baron Corbin. Just wasted a win where it could have gone to the Pride, and that might have actually helped them further. So, kind of tough to predict for different reasons. But it is a 6-man Philadelphia street fight, so I think it's going to definitely deliver on the entertainment side. I don't see it going long at all, 15 minutes, because it is a 6-person match. It's obviously going to have a bit of length to make sure everyone kind of gets their spots in and has a bit of rest in between, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I'll probably go the final Testament just because I think they need to win more. But like I said earlier, they might not have any faith in them after a few months. But now, we're on to the main event of the evening. For the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Now, it's not official because they've got to actually win the match first, but this will be a Bloodline rules match. I mean, why advertise if it's not? But so yeah, it's gonna be a Bloodline rules match. Anything other than Cody winning this is abomination, and I'll stop watching WWE, and I'm not joking. So all the podcasts from next week onwards will be AEW and TNA based. I'm not joking. Because WWE is just saying, fuck you fans if Roman wins this. Seriously. He can't. He can't win. Or stab someone. He can't win. Fuck you. He can't win. Alright? Eat a dick. He can't win. Cody has to win this. He's so over. He does an amazing job. He's had to pretty much carry this feud in his fucking back for a year. Because Roman's not there. And Roman's promos are better, but they're still not great. Don't let anyone tell you that Roman's promos are amazing because they're not. They're just better than his big dog ones, all right? They're just better. They're not good. Cody's aren't great either. They're a bit cringe, but they work because he's so likable. He's so genuine, and he's just a top-level star in every aspect. We haven't had this since John Cena. That's why people like me stopped watching in 15, 16, 17 and all that because John Cena was gone part-time. He wasn't the dude anymore, and no one was taking that big, massive face of the company's spot. They tried Roman, didn't work. No one else was big enough. Seth wasn't big enough. Ambrose wasn't big enough. Brock Lesnar wasn't around enough, otherwise he would have been big enough. But yes, look, I think this is going to be an absolute fucking fuckfest, schmozfest, whatever you want to call it. The Avengers portals are going to open. The Bloodline, you're going to have the final boss, Rock, he going to be involved. Solo's going to be involved. Jimmy's going to be involved. Another Bloodline debutant might be involved. One of the Fat Twos or something. Then you have Cody's side. Jay's going to get involved. I don't see Seth getting involved. I think there's going to be a bit of tension between him and Cody after he gets pinned in the tag match and then loses to Drew. Don't think he's going to be there. But Jay will be there. Possibly Sammy, but he hasn't been involved enough. Then you have your legends that everyone wants to arrive, right? You have your John Cena and your Stone Cold. John Cena, because I see this as a real handing or passing of the torch as the face of WWE from John to Cody. Then also you have the history, small, relatively recent history between Cena and Roman, and then you have the history between the Rock and Stone Cold. One of, if not the biggest rivalry / feud of all time. So that I do see happening, them getting involved, and I don't mind this being a big fuckfest of just bullshit and shenanigans happening. You can have that every now and then and it works. As long as the outcome's the same, which is Cody winning, I do not care. Because, look, Roman puts on great matches. He's a good seller, does a good job with the crowd, bounces off the crowd really, really well. But, in my opinion, his matches are never going to be fought. Well, I'm not talking about Dave Meltzer. I'm just talking about in general, like in terms of the audience of 5-star match. Unless it's like the Sammy match where the crowd was so behind Sammy, it built it up. The storytelling was really, really good, blah, blah, blah. But Roman's, he's never going to be the top in-ring wrestler. So this is going to be great storytelling. It's going to be a decent match, don't get me wrong. It's going to be better than last year's probably. There's going to be a lot of fucking bullshit happening ringside, which is great. And yeah, I think Cody's going to win. I mean, he has to win. He has to. This podcast is going to change to just AEW and TNA. I'm telling you. And we're going to start a new reign of Cody, and WWE is going to be all the better for it. And I'm not shitting on Roman. I'm over it now. I've had enough. It'd be no different than if Gunther held the Intercontinental title for another 2 years, I'd be saying the same thing. And I love Gunther, whatever you want to say. But yeah, those are pretty much the predictions. Yeah, please let me know on Facebook, YouTube, or DM me on Instagram or on X, formerly Twitter. Let me know your predictions. Who do you think I've got wrong? What do you think I've got right? What are you most excited for? What do you think is going to be the sleeper for match of the weekend? And also, who do you guys think is going to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal on SmackDown? They've left it off the main card, obviously for timing. I think there's probably a few people that could win it. Andrade and Bronson Reed are the two jumping out at me because they're two guys are probably a bit stiff missing out on WrestleMania. So I see those two making big plays to be the winner of the Battle Royal. Could be someone else. There's probably a few bigger names in there as well, but those two kind of stick out to me. But yeah, that kind of brings the episode to an end, guys. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing a review. If I get time, depends on what time it finishes on Monday. I might record the podcast and then post it straight away. So it might be released 6 p.m. Monday, or it'll be earlier in the afternoon on Tuesday. We'll wait and see with all how timing and scheduling goes, but it'll be early next week. And yeah, if you got this far with all me rambling for nearly an hour, I appreciate it. And I just want to have a big shout out to a friend of mine, Declan. He sent me a message the other week, and I have pretty much gone almost 4 weeks without posting on here. Just hard with scheduling and everything, where I always said my movie podcast would take the number one spot with my time. So I've been doing that almost every week. So this kind of got pushed to the side, unfortunately. But yeah, Declan sent me a message saying he was enjoying the podcast and was a good listen. So massive shout out to him. Thanks for that. It kind of makes you feel a bit better when you're not sure how you're going with a podcast or if it's worthwhile. Because I sometimes record these late at night, or I have to push things or cancel things or push myself when I'm a bit tired, but something I really enjoy doing and it's something I want to commit to. So massive shout out to him, and also massive shout out to people that like and react to any of my posts on Facebook or on X or share. Just massive shout out to you guys. It means a lot. It might be seen as the small things, but those are the things that really help me out. Leaving reviews on Spotify, Audible, Amazon, whatever you listen on, giving the video a like on YouTube, comment. It really helps with the algorithm and help me reach other people as well. So massive thanks to that. And I'm hoping within the next few months, I've got another podcast announcement. They'll be doing a third podcast, but that all depends on, if I can prove to myself that I can be consistent with these podcasts and pump out content 99.9% of the time. And yeah, just a big shout out to you guys again. And hope you enjoyed WrestleMania weekend. A lot of people having parties. A lot of people like to watch it by themselves. They like to watch it at the pub, maybe. However you watch it, make sure you stay safe, enjoy, and have a wicked time, guys. And maybe next time we'll get that 3 count. All right, I'll catch you later.